Good morning, all my lug nuts. It is a great, fantastic Sunday morning here in Texas near the Gulf Coast. And it's freezing. It is cold. It is 36 degrees outside. The shop is freezing cold because we don't have any heat. We don't have any air conditioning. It is pretty much what it is. While we're talking about that, and before we get into that, I'm going to introduce you to the shop safety. This is Goose. He is our safety man here in the shop. Do not fret, he is oh shit certified, and he's here to keep us from getting into any kind of trouble. So, back to the cold. Well, I know that a lot of you people are going to watch and you're from other areas and where it's really cold and 36 degrees isn't cold, and you're going to say, Robert, that's not that cold. Well, you know what? I don't want to hear it when it's 95 degrees there or 92 degrees there and 65% humidity and you're upset because it's hot and sweaty. Why? Because down here it gets to be 100 degrees with 99% humidity, and it's like you stepped out of the shower all the time. So now that that's out of the way, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of our cars today. One of which is my 1972 Nova. And by mine, I mean it's not really mine. It is, but it isn't. So I have two 20-year-old twin boys who in high school, hey Goose, what you sniffing at? There's that car's safe, I promise. Hey, okay. So you checked it out. It's meeting the oh shit standards. Okay, good. All right. So anyway, I have two 20-year-old boys. They are twins, and one of them found this car in my uncle's garage back when he was 11 years old. And so he found out that I had this car, a car very similar to this, right before they were born. It was a race car I built in order to have a lot of fun. And then I had the boys, and it was just time to grow up a little bit while they were born and young, and, just do the adult thing, which is really, really rare in my case. So my son found this in my uncle's garage, and he asked my uncle, hey, can I have that car? Can I have that car? Can I have that car? Well, my uncle finally said, yes, if you're going to restore it, you can have it. So we pulled it out of the garage. It was really bad. Apparently my uncle had gotten it brand new in 72. He drove it back and forth to school and U of H and Baylor and everything else like that. And then drove it till 1979. Got hit his fair share of things with it, and popped a timing chain on the original 305, I believe it was, 305 or 307 in 1979, and pulled it into the garage and left it there. So fast forward a number of years, and we pull it out, and I'll put some pictures in of what it looked like when we pulled it out. And we started tearing it down. Now, what was originally my son's idea was to just get it running. He just wanted to drive it. I got carried away. So I turned around and started stripping it down, and the more I pulled it apart, the more cool stuff I wanted to put in it. And finally, it took us a while to get it up and running. I ended up sending it out to a shop to get the final touches put on it. And when it was all said and done, my son got to drive it his senior year in high school. So him driving this car, his twin brother drove a 1969 Volkswagen bus, car he had wanted forever. So they were known for their cars in high school. Their cars were actually in their high school graduation slideshow that they show up at the stadium and everything else, which is why it has the offset stripes, because the bus, when we bought it, and you'll see it one day, had these exact same stripes on the driver's side. So they wanted to be the same, but different. So what we've got here is I learned a lot of valuable lessons when we were building this car. I learned that I could do a lot. I learned that there's a lot that I had to send out. And then I made a lot of mistakes, one of which was the engine on this car. And understand that it is dirty. It is a mess right now because it's been sitting around, and it's dirty, and it needs to be updated because he hasn't driven it in probably a year and a half. We pull it out, we fire it up, we keep it running, and eventually we'll do something else. We'll go through the drivetrain and change it. So with that being said, I'm going to change locations and we're going to show you the motor. All right, so we're going to start here with the motor, and I'll tell you some of the mistakes that I did make. Growing up, I worked on small block 350s. I was very familiar with them when I started this project, and so that's what I was comfortable with. What I wasn't comfortable with are LS swaps and the understanding of how easy they have become to do and everything else. Had I known that, I would have LS swapped this car from day one. But I didn't do that because, well, we know I'm not the smartest egg in the batch. So it happens. Sharpest stick in the box, whatever you want to use. Once again, I'll tell you, disclaimer, my channel is not educational. My channel is for entertainment purposes only. If you happen to learn something from my channel, it was purely accidental, and I wouldn't trust it very much. Disclaimer over, moving on. So I did put a small block 350 in here. Now, the mistake that I made, a small block 350 is not that big of a mistake. You want to kind of keep it original. The mistake that I did make was buying it off of Facebook Marketplace from an old guy who said, yeah, I rebuilt it. It's great. It's stock heads. It's this, it's that, and mild cam, and it's broken in, and it's ready to go. No. Hindsight 2020, I would have ordered a crate motor out of Jegs or Summit or one of those companies, and I would have gone that route and saved myself a lot of heartache. Because we drove this thing for a little while and rounded a cam lobe. So I had to tear the whole top half of the motor apart, pull the cam out, re-go through everything, flush all the material out of it and everything else like that, and start over. The heads on this thing sound like a sewing machine. The valve train it sounds terrible. So, hindsight being 2020, that's what I would do. Like I said, it's a basic small block 350. We've got the air conditioning for the aftermarket for the vintage AC. I did go fuel injection. Now, I will tell you that I started with the Phytech fuel injection system, and after a couple of failures and fighting with it, I just went over and moved over to the Holley. Once again, in the interest of trying to save money, it costs more money to go that route. So do it right. Spend the extra $100, $200, whatever it is, to get the right part rather than trying to save a couple bucks here and there. You're going to save yourself a lot of heartache in the end. So one thing that I did do was I went to a full Speedway Performance new front subframe, did completely tubular upper and lower control arms, front coilovers, disc brakes. I tried to make the vehicle as safe as I could for my son. I wanted him to have something that was relatively safe, that he couldn't get into a lot of trouble in. And I know you're going to say, Robert, how do you not get in trouble with a 72 Nova with a 350 in it? Even basic, that thing's hot. I was a little smarter than that. I put a 273 rear gear in the back, so he can't really just start spinning tires all over the place. I did that, thinking ahead. Why? Because I know what I was like when I was a kid, and I beat that program. So we did put a B&M Turbo 350 in it, brand new transmission and everything else like that, so all of that's solid. But the reason the motor looks like it does is because we've kind of haven't been driving it much. We've kind of parked it. I fire it up every once in a while, drive it around the property just to kind of loosen its legs up and everything else. But once again, not real thrilled with how the motor sounds. I don't particularly care for how it runs. But the eventual plan is to LS swap it. We'll put a pretty basic mild 5.3 in it, probably a 4L60 in it. And we'll up the gear a little bit now that he's a little bit older. And this will go back to him one day when he is grown and has a house of his own with a garage where he can keep it and everything else. But this is his car. So that being said, that's the motor, and those are the mistakes that I made building the motor. So we're going to move on and take a look at the rest of the car. All right, so we're going to walk around the rest of the car. Forgive the dirt, forgive the dust. So yes, and I do need to get it re-registered. So it's a clean paint job. This is a little, almost the factory color that it was when we found the car, but it is a little bit, got a little more silver in it. I had a really hard time doing the offset on the wheels. finding the right set of wheels and tires and everything else like that. So these were some that looked really good when we got them, and now they've got, as lesser expensive wheels go, they've got a little bit of a mess to them, a little bit of rust and pitting, especially being down here on the coast. So as you can see, our stripe goes all the way to the back. All the way back. And one of the cool things about this, and as I stated earlier, is my uncle drove this car through college and everything else like that. Got it brand new in '72. We were able to salvage the back window that has all of his old college parking stickers still in the back window. We just thought that was a cool feature and a throwback to my uncle, to kind of, just keep it cool and original, and it's just kind of nice. So we come in here, we open her up. In the interest of safety, I went to, excuse me, can I help you? You can't go for a ride in there. All right, look out, safety man. Look out. Back up. All right, sorry. We had to have a safety inspection. So we did do the bucket seats. We did do a set of bucket seats in it. And I did do a bolt-in 3-point seatbelt harness, shoulder harness for safety, because most of these came with lap bars. These did come with the overhead seat belts, but we took them out in order to do it. We went with a B&M Star Shifter. I will tell you that these steering wheels fall apart. The vinyl on them comes loose. I will never buy one of those again. So we kept the stock gauges. We did do a set of aftermarket gauges to manage it. We do have the Holley system in here. Kept the back seat straight. My son put in a cool little green light to match. And overall, it's a pretty cool car. So, like I said, it's one that will always be in the family. This is one that we will not, oh, wait, we got to have a secondary safety inspection. Okay, it's good. It will stay in the family, and it will go to my son, and he will do with it whatever he wants to do. It'll probably get rebuilt again. And from here, we're going to go ahead and fire it up for you, let you get a good listen to it. And then we'll move on. See, we got her up and running. We did open up the back door to the shop so we don't gas ourselves. I'm not a complete idiot, just mostly. So, she runs good. Dual exhaust. Sounds really good. Sounds kind of nice. But I'm going to come up and I'm going to show you what that valve train sounds like, and hopefully you guys can pick it up. You can kind of hear it in here. Give it a little gas and it sounds a lot like, you can hear those valves making noise. So, pretty cool car. All right, guys, lug nuts. That's going to do it for this episode of Robert's Classic Car. I hope that you enjoyed this video about the first of many projects that I've got going on around here. We're going to introduce all the projects. We're going to do a shop tour. We're going to do all of that, and at some point in time, we'll actually get to working on cars. So, like I said, I'm not perfect. This is not meant to be educational, and if you learned something from this episode, then, wow, you might want to be careful. So, once again, Robert's Classic Cars, and as always, my little lug nuts, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up.